A very good evening to everybody that is watching. Welcome to tonight's edition of the Evening Review. My name is Toiwende Bela, your host. Tonight on the platform, we are joined by Paulus Vihemba. He is president of the National African Students Association, NASA in short. He is here to partially introduce his organization and to make us understand the organization better. Thank you, Paulus, for making time. NASA.
Yes.
What is that?
Yes, NASA, as you have already said, but before I go in details, let me first appreciate you for inviting me today here and talk to your viewer and Namibian people. So NASA is, in short, is National African Student Association. We are a national student body, which is voluntary, non-political, and independent. So our aims is to represent the rights and interests of the students, to guarantee that each and every Namibian child get access to basic and higher education in Namibia, and also ensuring that as learners and students are studying at those institutions, they are studying in a conducive learning environment. So now we are formed in 2019. So on Friday we turned 5 years, so we celebrated our 5th anniversary.
Okay.
So in short, that is it. We formed that was in 2019 in Rundu.
Okay.
But now we expanded to all the 14 regions.
Sure. Now, what brought about the formation of NASA? I'm asking because we already have organizations like NANSO and another one, I can't remember the name now. What gap did you see in that space that you felt that you needed to create another organization?
Yes, thank you very much for that question. Yes, if you look at in 2019, what transpired is that during 2019, NSFAF rejected over 12,000 students who qualified to be funded. And then during the same time is the time when there was a crisis in student leadership. We find out that that time there was only NANSO. So people were fighting, and the leadership, where you saw the national executive was suspending each other. That time was us who formed the association were still first years. So we would see the organization that was representing students, they were not representing us during that time. So because we were suspending themselves, so as a result, we now needed to organize ourselves who were affected during that time. So we went for national demonstration to address that issues of us not being given the funds. So then after that demonstration, when NSFAF decided to give us the fund, we asked ourselves now, what happens if we only have one organization and the same thing still happens? Where students are affected by the body that's supposed to represent them. They are either fighting or they're just not willing to fight. Now you understand, yes, you say that there are some organization that was formed. SAN was formed during that time, because then now when they were suspended, they formed one organization. Then us now, we never belong to those we never belong to NANSO. We decided that because we realized we just needed to take our own alternative to say, because these are the same people. So we say, let us just form an organization that is independent and that will never be influenced by any forces. Yeah. That's why this organization was formed. So we can say our organization was formed before SAN was formed, but because now we understand the way the organization was formed from Rundu, because of the media and others, maybe the public might not have heard it. Yeah, until now, yes.
Yeah. So you are not a breakaway from the likes of NANSO. You started elsewhere. You were never a member of NANSO yourself?
Yes. So us were those students that were never members of any of those student organization. Yeah. So we started as a society at Rundu campus. So because of we realized there was a mess in student leadership, and we needed to provide new leadership. So because we also said, even if these others formed, they are still the same people. There were still divisions, and I think it was demonstrated after some few years. You see them that they still fought. Yeah, because of the fact that there were still divisions. Yeah, so we are those young people that just came from grade 12, and we have a vision to say that the student needed an alternative organization.
We'll go deeper into your organization later, but why are young people divided in this country? There seem to be some. I mean, when you speak about NANSO, SAN, NASA, maybe there are even probably a few more that we do not, we can't recall now. What seems to be dividing young people into this many formations instead of having some sort of united front? Is it ideological differences? Is it people wanting to be leaders of their respective organizations? Where is it coming from in your assessment?
Yeah, in my assessment, if you look at the point of view of students, this organization is supposed to be independent. They're supposed to be not be influenced by any forces. But now when a situation where it comes an organization, you are no more representing the people, but there are other forces that you are also representing. Then it becomes a problem to certain people who don't like that. So you will understand that the unions, like in our case now, we didn't want to be associated to any political formation or any other things. We said we want to be independent, which means that if you are from other political parties, you can belong to our organization, but when we are here, we are under one umbrella and we push for one agenda. So, but in some sense, again, we will now say that we might be from different angles, but there's somewhere where we meet. There are some issues that bring us together, which is especially the one that affect everyone. But there are certain issues that certain organizations might not represent, and which organizations such as ours can be able to do. And also, if you look at the student populace, it's a very big populace compared to any other union, because we are talking about basic education and the higher education. In other countries, you go that there's one organization representing basic education learners only. Then there's another organization which is representing higher education. Then they have one umbrella body. But here now we have just a student organization that's representing all the students in Namibia. Yes, but there is a need where we have maybe in future, see how we can be able to come up with one organization maybe, or maybe an umbrella where student leaders can able to meet to address student issues collectively.
Yeah. Do you think that being politically independent is the best approach, or do you think, for example, that when you lean to particular political organizations, you can also maybe ride on their back on the journey towards whatever it is that you want to achieve? What influenced your decision not to affiliate with anyone?
Yes, we feel like being independent is more sustainable, and because when you are you are politically influenced, that is something that depends on the influence of that political party or that force that is influencing you. In a situation where what happens then when another party takes over, then it becomes a problem. But when you are neutral and what brings you together is you don't care which formation you have. You can deal with any organization, so long they just bring up good initiative. So now when you approach in government, you are not looking at them as from which formation they are coming from, but you're looking at it, what can they do? Yeah. What can they do for students? So that is what makes it different. So we choose to be in that way because when you are independent, you are able to deal with certain issues that certain political parties or some political influences might not want you to do. So then independent people, because you're not controlled by anyone, you are able to do such things. You can able to say anything, resolve issues in a way that you feel is fit without being pointed to don't do this or do it this way or somehow.
Yeah. Because NASA was formed in Rundu, how diversified culturally is your particularly your executive team? Because is it a lot of guys from Kavango, or do you have a good ethnic mix within your executive? Maybe you can list.
Yeah, in our case now, let me start by our structure. We have 3 structures. We have branch structures at each institution of higher learning. At UNAM, we have 12 campuses, but we have 9 branches that we've registered. At each branch, they have members and they have structures. Each region have a regional executive. Now, we don't discriminate our members based on tribes. Any person can become a leader so long you are capable of becoming. But to come on the diversity of our organization, I am a president. I'm from Kavango, but if you look in majority of the people that are in that structures, they are not from Kavango. Even in the top 5 in executive, majority of them, they are from the O region. So starting from the vice president, the SG, the deputy SG, the spokesperson is from Gatima Mlilo. And the list goes on. So we have a congress where all our regional executive comes together and elect those people. But we are not bothered about the where that person comes from.
Yeah.
The key word is to make sure that each and every capable young person, young student that is able to lead the student communities is able to get an opportunity in the association, despite you being without you being saying you are the son of who you are from this village, so long you have that ability to lead.
The last question before we go for a break, Paulus, what is because also part of the problem with many of these organizations in our country is that people form organizations and they do everything in their power to make sure that there's no elective processes taking place. So out of fear that they might be voted out, you've turned 5 years on Friday. What have you done in terms of maybe holding congresses or elective conferences, as you may call them?
Since our formation, I'm the second president of this association. If you look at it, because we have learned from history, just what you have said, the thing that have destroyed organizations is the divisions and the failure to recognize that there are other people that have the ability to lead, and you have that share of power, and you have to revolve. The first president was Ambrosius Aingora. Now our last Congress was 2022 in October, and we serve as a national executive. You serve for 3 years. So my term as a president and my executive that we elected together, it will be during next year. Next year, October, it will be another Congress. So that's on the national level, but in the regional level, they do elect after 2 years.
Okay.
Then on the branch level, which is institution of higher learning, each and every year you have to renew your branch. That is in line with the regulations of many universities, that each and every year those societies that are registered, they should be renewed. So we have that democratic. In fact, one of our core values is democracy. So because we are very united, and we say that in order for unity to prevail, unless if we have democratic values within our structures, which means that all the elected leaders should be elected.
Wonderful.
Yes, and also not only election, but the upper structures decisions must prevail to the lower structures.
Yeah,
that is what we have done to association. That's why we've managed to build a united and a progressive student union.
Lovely. We go for a quick break and then return with Paulus Vihemba.
Connection, It's in the human touch, the feeling of belonging. It inspires us and empowers us, creates clarity from complexity. It starts new conversations, unlocks the power of advice, and makes an impact on your life. At Alex Forbes, we pioneer insight to provide you with advice that connects your decisions of today to your impact tomorrow.
The conversation continues on the evening review. Now, Paulus, who is funding the organization? How do you live as an organization?
That's a very important question. We find ourselves. Our primary funder is the members. So because we are a membership and a non-profit organization, we rely mostly on the student themselves. That have become a very big challenge to us, because then you realize that we are the lower when it comes to the hierarchy of economic. Now, apart from that, there are people within the communities. Some of them, maybe some they are teachers, some they are lecturers, especially where we are formed, who understand what we want to achieve, and they really support you here and there. But we don't have a bigger donor, for example, where every year we expect any fund. We are not even funded by government. We are registered under the Ministry of Youth. We are a registered student body. We are the second registered student body from NANSO with the Ministry of Youth. We have met all the structures in terms of, in order for organization to be registered. But still, we are not being funded either by NYC or by Ministry of Higher Education, as NANSO is. But we are looking forward to be funded by those institutions.
Yeah. Do you think that NANSO in particular is receiving preferential treatment from you guys? We've seen a lot of NANSO members being taken into government, being taken to parliament. Some have become ministers. Do you think that all of you in that space must be treated equally, or why do you think that NANSO has been able to produce these leaders that are now serving us?
Yes. So yes, you are right. From the point of view, one can conclude so. Because, this is what the funny part about our government. So long you think independently, so long you are not influenced, for example. And the funny part is that when we started when we launched the organization, the state or the system already concluded that maybe there's another person behind us. And as a result, we are already tagged that we are anti-government. And that's why you find out that many of time they sideline us. But in reality, in a democratic state, it's supposed not to be so. Yeah, that's why you even explain why will a registered organization like ours not been funded by the government while we are registered, because we are registered by the same government. Or why is it a young person from another organization like NASA, why is it not also been recognized by any government to benefit as much as in terms of capacity and this individual? It's because you are already tagged that you are anti them. Yeah. So, but now it's better, because when we started, even institution of higher learning, because they are also part of the system, so you realize that they also block doors because they think maybe you are fighting the government. Yeah, so that is the challenge we have in Namibia that we really need. And one of our vision is to achieve a decolonized and democratic institutions. So we have to decolonize the mind, because if a person thinks like that, because you are still thinking in a form of a colonized mindset. Yes.
Yes. You spoke earlier about how student funding was one of the sort of burning issues that led to the formation of the organization, the association. What are the other challenges? What are some of the current burning issues facing students in the country?
Yes, because now when we talk about education, we talk about two fronts, basic education and higher education.
Yeah.
I'll start with basic education. If you look at basic education now, under Article 21, it's supposed to be free. And the government is supposed to provide reasonable resources to ensure that this basic education is accessible to all learners. So the challenge that we have in that this system, basic education system, is that it's underfunded, and as a result, we have the issue of poor facilities. Just in Kongola or in other villages in Zambezi region, there are learners that are studying under the tree, and especially now during rain season, you find those learners are sometimes schools is suspended. You go in Rundu and other Kavango West and other towns, you find that there are learners who are studying under zinc, and there is very hot, you know. So you have issue of understaffed teachers are sitting at home, and but the situation is that the government is unable to recruit them, not because the spaces are full, but because there's no money. UP is education, primary education grants. It's being now released in May instead of being released in January. As a result, principals are being forced to now come up with ways like forcing parents now to to carry the burden of free education. That's why you find now in basic education, a learner to register, you have to pay about 700 Namibian dollar for some schools, especially secondary schools. So that compromises that quality, that right of free to education. But when it comes to higher education is not free. So the only way a student in Namibia can access higher education is through a student loan. Now, accessibility of that loan it is still a challenge for many. Because there's two, if you look at that loan, it's divided into two, tuition fees and non-tuition fees. Now, the requirement that the NSFAF Act have set, a general requirement was supposed to be that all Namibian students that are studying at institution of higher learning that is accredited and studying a course that is accredited by NQA. Everyone's supposed to get funding. Now, Minister of Higher Education through the NSFAF board supposed to come with a policy that stipulates more criteria. Now, this is where the challenging part comes in. You realize that not all students get tuition fees. It's only IUM student, UNAM student, and NAS students. But Tramfed students, Welwicha students, they don't get non-tuition fees. They only get tuition fees. That is very discriminatory, but they are all doing all the same courses that are accredited by the same board, which is NQA. VTCs as well. You also find out that VTC students are not being given non-tuition fees. But if you go in Rondo, you'll find that there are students from Oshana region studying there. Who's paying for their accommodation? Who's paying for their transport? So those are some of the issues that as a union we are looking at. And we are also saying that if you remember in 2019 when the government took a decision that they are not going to fund for those 12,000, when they reversed that decision, one of the agreements that NANSO signed with government was that they were going to reduce non-tuition fees from 21.6 thousand to 17,000, so that they can accommodate those people that were left out. But as time is going, that 17,000 is not enough for students. Just yesterday, I think I saw one of the media reporting by one of your media team that the students in Windhoek here, they are unable to pay for accommodation because accommodation here is, some of them is 2,000. Now, if you multiply that 2,000 times 9 months that you are here, it's not even more than 17,000, including transport and food. So that's why as a union we are saying there's a need for us to still have a discussion on that so that we can increase these non-tuition fees. And we are proposing that it must go back on 21.6 that it was, so that learners, students are able to cater for all the basic needs that they required.
Absolutely. Paulus, thank you for making time.
Thank you.
Yeah. Pand. Yeah, that is Paulus Vihemba is president of the National African Students Association, NASA, telling us about the formation of the organization. It's 5 years old now. As a matter of fact, this interview is part of the 5-year celebration, and we hope to have you back again on the platform whenever you have something new to tell us.
Yes.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you for watching.